Today I'm attempting something I've never done before. I'm going to produce my own lo-fi jazz track, and I'm only giving myself 24 hours to learn how to do it. I haven't spent a ton of time listening to lo-fi music, but I believe that we all become better musicians, more well-rounded, when we expand our horizons and we learn to create and consume all different kinds of music. When I was in college studying, I used to put on my headphones and just listen to white noise. They had these white noise generators that would play white noise or pink noise or brown noise. Did you know there are all these different colors of noise? And they play all kinds of other sounds too, like background noise from a coffee shop or rain hitting the ground, thunderstorms, wind tunnels, all kinds of just kind of everyday background noise that might be comfortable to you. I think lo-fi music is a kind of modern approach to that same thing. You know, it's not meant to be the primary focus. You're not here to listen to that music. Nobody's going to a lo-fi concert. It's meant to be background music, something that you play while you're studying, while you're working, maybe while you're sleeping. It's something that helps you focus on what you're doing, not something that distracts you from it. As a professional YouTuber, lo-fi is potentially a craft that would be useful to me. And if you don't know, copyrighted music is a big problem on YouTube. And as I want to use background music, I don't always want to rely just on kind of low quality stock music. But I'd rather be able to create something of my own and use it in the background. That way I can keep the copyrights for myself. I can produce better videos and kind of follow my own vision for that. I have a ton of respect for my friends who are music producers, and I think they're not always recognized for the amount of work they put into mixing and mastering the tracks that we listen to every day. But this lo-fi music feels a little bit like drag and drop music for people who haven't spent a lot of time with music theory. I hear a lot of non-traditional harmonies, and I think that's because the artist just found sounds that they liked and kind of put them back to back, strung them together. There are no rules in my book that say whether harmony is right or wrong. It's completely subjective. To me, all that matters is that the artist put forward what they intended to, even if that conflicts with traditional music theory. Okay, cool. I found this playlist on Spotify of some lo-fi jazz tracks. Let's check them out, see what we can learn from them. First thing I notice here is that there's some real instruments in here. The drums are clearly real samples. I hear a saxophone, I hear guitar. There's a real heavy delay on the saxophone. You hear it echoing several times, but there's not real melodic. Thing I notice here is the lo-fi aspect, right? There's a real needle hiss, I guess, like a record vinyl hiss sound, like an old hi-fi stereo. Everything's a little bit wobbly. You know when you have an old cassette tape and it just kind of has been stretched out or worn down and it just kind of warbles a little bit? I think that's like the vintage lo-fi sound. Like the other ones, these are all acoustic instruments. There's a Fender Rhodes, a trumpet, bass, drums. They're not real instruments. They're samples of real instruments that have been programmed. Most of the time when I think of electronic music, I think of heavily synthesized, like Moog modulators and stuff like that. It still has that kind of natural jazz club vibe, even though it's programmed. The thing I notice is the beat is not square at all. Again, with a lot of electronic music, you think about things being rounded to the nearest beat. It's all quantized so it lands exactly on the beat. This is not like that at all. Like, it's got a real natural feeling. It's a little bit off kilter. It feels like some person is actually playing. But they've also equalized it so that they took like all the highs out. Like they shut it right down the middle. So it's kind of everything's a little bit kind of muffled. That's the most interesting one to me. Yeah, it's clearly got a real saxophone. It sounds like a real piano too. Might be a sample, but then intermixed with like the programmed drums and the synth pads and stuff. It's kind of cool vibe. I dig that. Cool. I think that gives us enough to work with. I got the stylistic idea from it. Let's give it a shot. See what we come up with on our own. I went down the rabbit hole on YouTube and I watched a few tutorials showing how to make lo-fi music, and I learned a few things. The first thing I learned is that I basically need to empty my savings account by buying a whole load of software. This includes a digital audio workstation, a DAW, some software instruments, and a bunch of effects. Lucky for me, I've been using Logic Pro for a number of years, so I'm comfortable with the DAW, but I'm going to have to invest in some more software instruments and effects that I don't have. Secondly, I need to invest in some kind of a hardware pad controller that I can use to play drums and other samples. I definitely could control all my drum sounds and synthesizers using my MIDI keyboard that I have in front of me. The kids would not think I was cool if I did that, though. It's really like of the utmost importance that I look the part. I gotta look like I'm a DJ that knows what he's doing. Otherwise, the kids are never gonna respect me. The third thing is, I was told I need an app called Scalar, and I took a look at the website, and Scalar just looks like it's like a cheat code to know what notes are in what scale, and you get little buttons to push the chords that fit each scale. I'm pretty confident with my jazz experience that I can handle that without an app. So I'm gonna call the local music store and see what they recommend. Yeah, hey dude, what's up? Yeah, I'm hoping you can help me. I'm trying to figure out how to make some like lo-fi hip-hop study music. I saw on YouTube they have these they're boxes and they have these different color buttons on them. They all light up and blink and they're super fun. I think I can just put like drum samples and other weird synth noises and bleeps and bloops on it. Oh yeah, your nephew does this? Made how much money? Alright, how late? I'll be there in 30 minutes. Is that cool? Alright, I'll see you soon. Alright, so I'm back from the music store. That dude was super helpful, knew exactly what I was looking for. And check out this actual machine. He sold me. No, I mean literally it's called Machine. And this thing, it's got like all kinds of fancy buttons and colors. This thing is really gonna make me look like I know what I'm doing. He also told me that I don't need to buy any new software instruments. The machine comes with a few, which is nice. I actually have a handful here from other projects I've done in the past, but I should be able to connect my existing software instruments up to this thing, so that saved me a few bucks. I guess there's nothing left but just to get started. I'm gonna start someplace a little bit comfortable for me. I'm gonna come up with a couple jazz chords, like a 2-bar loop, then maybe add some drums, some bass, put the vinyl hiss in there, and let's see where we end up. I think I'll take that as a first attempt. It's not great. I don't think I totally captured the lo-fi aspect of it. You know, I did with the vinyl hiss in there and some of the warbly things but I think my beat was a little too square. It needed to kind of chill out a little bit. I was trying to get those effects on the guitar, the delay and the reverb, and if they're in there, but I think I may have overdone it a little bit. Anyway, let's try something else. I'm going to try this again, and I'm going to use the same basic instruments. I'm going to start with a piano hook, add the bass, the drums, and use a guitar for the melody. But I'm really going to focus on finding a more interesting chord sequence. I think the 2-bar thing I did last time just didn't give me enough material. I want to have a little more space to move around a little bit more. And I'm really going to focus on just laying back, staying on the back side of the beat, not worrying that everything lines up exactly perfect. I'm going to pull back on the effects on the guitar a little bit. I think I'm going to run with this progression, which has a descending bass line, starting in the key of A with an A major 7, and then we're jumping right up to the 4, which is a D major 7. From there, the left hand is just walking down kind of scale. It's going to go C, B, B flat, and then back to A. But over those descending notes, we're going to use slash chords to give us an interesting harmony. The overall progression is going to be A major 7 to D major 7. Then the slash chords, we're going to do F major 7 over C. We're going to do C major 7 over B. We're going to do an E half diminished over B flat, and then an A7 chord, dominant 7th chord. From the A7, I'm just going to move the 7th up a half step, and we'll be back at A major 7. We'll start the loop over again. think those changes we made a big difference, especially pulling way back on the beat, right? Relaxing it back, letting it settle in, let it chill out a little bit. Definitely gave it more of a groove. And I pulled back on the effects on the guitar and it seemed much more reasonable this time. So no one's gonna hire me to make these anytime soon, but I think that's passable. I think I would give myself a solid B, maybe a B plus for that fire chord progression. I don't think it's bad for my first day of producing though. When I set out to do this, I was excited to learn a new style of music, and I've gained a lot of appreciation for what goes into producing these tracks. And I'll admit, I had a lot of fun doing this, but I don't find the music all that stimulating or harmonically interesting. I tried listening to lo-fi music in my headphones a few times while I was working this week, and at first I found it terribly distracting. My brain would hear the loop and then it would just fixate on it, and I couldn't let go of it. I couldn't focus on what I was doing because all I heard was the loop going on and on and on and on and on and on and on in the background. But after a few days, I almost don't hear these at all anymore. I definitely would notice if I turned it off, but in a weird way, it's a little bit soothing to have that there. I'm glad I went through all this, but I don't think that it's going to be for me long term. I can totally understand how this would be useful for other people, especially if you were back in college where the background noises are changing all the time and you want to just kind of get in the zone. Seems useful for that. It just doesn't seem like it has a place for me. I'm happy to go to the library and just sit in the quiet of the library and get my work done. The thing I'm walking away really excited about is just realizing how approachable this is for somebody. It took quite a financial investment to get started, but once I was up and running, all the tools were really easy to use. I was up running, recording drum samples and having great fun making funny noises within an hour. And I had a whole lot of fun doing it. If you've got a teenager in the family who just wants to make some music, maybe they don't want to jump into guitar lessons or piano lessons or drum lessons or whatever, but they're just interested in music, this is a great way to get started. Honestly, you can take this machine, you can load some sounds up into it, you can bang on the pads, hit record, and it's so much fun and it's so creatively stimulating. I hope someday that they'll want to grow up and learn to play, in a guitar or piano or learn some theory, whatever, but it's a great place to get started, and that just is super exciting. This is the most fun I've had making music in a long time. Even though I didn't really like the music and the way it turned out in the end, I had so much fun just going through the process of learning and exploring and creating a new type of music. So jump down in the comments and tell me, what type of music do you think I should try to do next? And while you're down there, hit like and subscribe. That way YouTube will bring you back when I post those videos too. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.